I spoke a word, you were singing over me. And you have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. And you have been so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I found these, the 99. I couldn't turn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. And you have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. And you have been so, so kind to me.
Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't turn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, yeah. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me.
There's no wall you won't kick down, no lie you won't tear down, coming after me.
There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, no lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't turn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, yeah.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you everybody for joining. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I might not be on the right microphone. No, it's the right one. It's not in stereo right now. Weird. Anyways, hope everyone's doing. Got Keto Bills in the house. Thanks for joining, brother. Ty's in the house. We got Angel. How's everybody doing? How's y'all doing? Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here and joining in the broadcast. What a nice surprise. Told ya, I might be broadcasting a little bit more here and there. We'll see how things work out. So, who am I? I am Jason Wallace. I'm a believer and a follower of, yeah, right, that way. Jesus Christ. Joshua Ello's in the house, my brother. Oh, my brother. I love you, man. Thank you so much for all sharing out. I appreciate it. So who am I? I'm Jason Wallace. I'm a believer and follower of Jesus Christ, a prayer warrior, an intercessor. What's going on, Ty, man? I'm a Bible reader, a devoted husband and father. I am a child of God. I'm a new creation in Christ. I'm a citizen of heaven. Hey, my friend. I am a member of Christ's body. I am a friend of Christ. I'm righteous and I'm holy. Listen, man, this is all the stuff the Bible tells you you are, and if you believe anything different, you're being lied to by the enemy. And man, we don't ever want to listen to those words of that enemy for sure. Well, Gary Tudaro, how you doing, my friend? I haven't seen you in a while over on Facebook. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so guys, if you get a chance, check out the website at jesusdidit.org. Download the rest of the affirmations, the whole big sheet of those things right there. Go ahead, download that thing, print it out, put it in your Bible, stick it up on a wall. You know, yeah, thank you so much for all the hearts and shares and tweets and retweets. You guys are awesome, and I love you guys. Thank you so much. My man, what's up? Alright, in the middle there is the official Jesus Did It broadcasters. And guys, you want to make sure you're following Becky and Wendy and Pastor Rick and myself. You also want to make sure you're following the Jesus Did It TV account for sure for our monthly broadcasts. You definitely don't want to miss those. And down the bottom here is a great group of broadcasters that we like to watch as well. So guys, don't miss out a chance to go support other Christian broadcasters and make sure that you are you know, helping to spread the word, right? Spread the, hey, what's going on, Liz? Thanks for joining. You know, spread the word of Jesus Christ and what he's done for you and for me and for everyone. All we gotta do is accept it. That's all we gotta do. All right, here we go. We're gonna do our singing for tonight. Of course, you know, we don't. I don't necessarily sing on here because, well, you know, I got sleeping people next door. You know, my little kids, they're sleeping next door, and I don't want to wake them up because then that means I got to deal with that all night. Plus, they yell at me all the time. You sing too loud, Dad. You're too loud of a singer. Saturday, that's right, Saturday, September 28th, 6:30. Yep, we're going to be doing our broadcast. You want to make sure you don't miss that. Alright, so I haven't even thought about a song for tonight, which one to do. So if I'm scrolling through and something strikes your eye and you think you want to do that song, you can play that one, let me know. Remember, a couple of these might be group songs with my Smule Gospel Experience family. You know, so definitely, you know, So Will I. I want to do a worship song, so if you happen to see a secular song there, we're not going to pick that one for right now. We'll usually play a secular song at the end of the broadcast. Let's see. Stand in Your Love. We just did Reckless Love. We did Fear is a Liar not that long ago. Where I Belong. And we haven't done these ones, 10,000 Reasons or Who Am I, in a while either. So, let's see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Resurrecting. I haven't done that one in a while. Hymn of Remembrance. Did I even ever do that one? How does that go? Hymn of Remembrance. Let me double check right here. Hymn of Yeah, right. BR. Yeah, it's late. I'm tired. Hymn of Remembrance. Oh, I don't think I've ever done this one. I might have to do this one. I don't know if I've ever heard it, though. Maybe I have. 2011, it's not that old. I can't play it, though. That's the only thing. If I play it, we will get caught by the Facebook police. Kimberly Shaver Page is in the house. How you doing? Thanks so much for joining. Alright, I'm going to remember that one. I'll put that one on the side. We'll remember that one. Revelation at the Cross. It is well with my soul. That's a good one. You are not alone. It's different. You are not alone. It's not the one you think it is. Word of God, speak. Still. We just did. Life Song. Endless Love. No, that's not. That's, You Love Me Anyway. I'm gonna do this one. I haven't done this one in a while. Let's do this one.
Hey guys, such a cool song. Thanks for singing it with me.
You know what? I'll do that one after. We'll do two tonight.
The question was raised as my conscience fell, a silly little lie. It didn't mean much, but it lingered still in the corners of my mind.
Still you call me to walk on the edge of this world, to spread my dreams and fly. But your future's so far, my heart is so frail, I think I'd rather stay inside. But you love me anyway.
It's like nothing in life that I've ever known. Yes, you love me anyway. Oh Lord, how you love me, how you love me.
It took more than my strength, simply be still, to seek but never find.
And all the reasons we change, the reasons I doubt, and why do loved ones have to die? Yes, you love me anyway. It's like nothing in life that I've ever known. Yes, you love me anyway. Oh Lord, how you love me. I am a thorn in your crown, but you love me anyway.
I am the sweat from your brow, but you love me anyway.
I am a nail in your wrist, but you love me anyway. I am Judas's kiss, but you love me anyway. See, now I'm the man who yelled out from the crowd for your blood to be spilled on this earth-shaking ground. Yes, and I turned away with a smile on my face, with this how you love me. Yes, you love me anyway. It's like nothing in life that I've ever known. Yes, you love me anyway. Oh, Lord, how you love me. Yes, you love me. Yes, you love me. Yes, you love me. Yes, you love me. How you love me. How you love me. How you love me.
You know what? How much he loves us. Even though what has been done, right? Even though we continue to just be the ones that don't follow his rules, but he still loves us. You know, that's kind of an example of what we need to do too. You know, even though people may do things that we may not think are right, or you know, we judge it to be something what it is. You know, like, you know, trying to just ask odd questions that cause people to divide and people to question, you know, certain things, like, you know, if somebody did this, what would happen if that, and you know, just like that pastor thing, you know, that pastor that died, you know, you guys need to understand that, like, he was a father, he's a son, he's a husband, you know, he's a pastor of a flock, and you know, we're commanded to love them anyway. Exactly. And you know, the guy was you know, head of a suicide ministry, you know, that helps people with suicide, and he fell victim to that same thing, right? He committed suicide. It just goes to show that we need to be lifting people up. We need to be praying for our pastors. We need to be there. And instead of worrying about what you should think about what happened, maybe we should be thinking more about how are we lifting up the family that's left there fatherless and husbandless, and the church that's left with, or the ministry that's left without a pastor, without you know, the shepherd of the flock, you know, that they have to rebuild the pieces. You know, how about go surround that family and show them love, instead of, you know, talking about what your thoughts are on it. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what we think. It really doesn't matter what we think. We can sit here and try to think about in our mind about what it could be, but at the end of that day, there's only one that really cares about that, and it's not for us to figure out. Some things are, you know, it just drives me a little crazy when people get into arguments about things like, is someone who commits suicide going to heaven? Are they still saved? Yeah. I feel that our God is greater than any question or any circumstance that we could possibly think of how great his love is for us. And good night, brother. And we can't even fathom a tiny little bit of how much love he has for us. So do I feel that someone is it's right, we gotta pray for his family. You know, that's a horrible circumstance to be in. Could you imagine you being his wife, right? You know, no more husband, no one there, be there with you. You know, we need to lift up the family. We need to be praying for our pastors no matter what, and we need to be lifting them up, but not putting them up on pedestals. Lifting them up in prayer, surrounding them with friendship, with just being real with them instead of, you know, putting them on such high pedestals where they feel that they have to live up to these way high expectations of being so grand and things like that, when they're still human themselves, right? They're still. What's going on, Leah? Thanks for joining. You know, they're human themselves, and they can definitely fall into sin. They can definitely have emotions. They can have, you know, faults. We're all human. But could you imagine? Could you imagine being a pastor? Someone has to listen to and absorb in all of the people in his church, all of the stuff going on, you know, all the circumstances with families, with you know, the families, individuals, the singles, the youth, the you know, the college age kids, the you know, the prayer ministry, all these things, right? All this mounting of all this stuff. People, listen, a pastor doesn't just work on Sunday, right? It's 24/7. It's 365 days a year that a pastor is having to be, you know, having to be that person who's always available to answer and to serve you. So why not pray on them? You know, pray them up. Why not go buy them dinner? Like anything. Just bring them a cup of coffee. I'm pretty sure that if you just walk in with a cup of coffee over there to your pastor, he will be happy. So happy that he was able to take a break and you thought about him. You know, something simple. And that's one thing. It's a lot of times the people who serve, a lot of times are not thanked. And this made me think a little bit too, because last broadcast, a couple of you guys were really like just saying how thankful you are for the ministry of Jesus Did It, and how much we pray for people, and how much we've helped people, and it just made me think about, you know, how much trying to be obedient and how much trying to be that man of God that I wish I could always be, right? Wish I could always mold and be in this. I wish I could fill the sandals of Jesus, but you know what? All I can do is attempt and try to replicate and be as best what I can be from him, you know? And so yeah, it made me think a little bit, and then I saw some drama on Facebook with some other things, and you know, a friend was hurt because of words that were said, and you know, it's definitely an interesting situation, right? When people are more interested in what they should think about, or what do they think is going to happen with that person who killed themselves, rather than really worrying about what the most important thing is. The people that are left and have to pick up the pieces of what just fell apart in front of them, right? I couldn't even imagine what would happen if, you know, if something happened to me and my wife had to deal with all of that, right? You know, or you never know, right? So, hey Molly, thanks for joining. So definitely, guys, let's pray for our pastors tonight. Let's do that. Pastor Rick Costa, thanks so much for being in the broadcast. Thank you for the super hearts, and just want to let you know that you are a blessing to us. You are a blessing to so many people, and you know, let's pray. Lord, Heavenly Father, I just thank you for each and every single person who listens to the calling to be in a position of pastoring, or evangelizing, or being missionaries, or being in those hard spots where, or just being a deliverer of your word, and just praying for people and lifting other people up. Lord, I thank you so much for those people in our lives that care so much about us, even more than what they care about themselves sometimes, or even about what is going on in their own personal lives, that they'll go out of their way just to help us in our time of need, and do it so selflessly that that it could overwhelm them sometimes as well. So Lord, I just ask for a peace and a calming and just a sense of that we love our pastors, that we care for our pastors, and we only want the best for them. So Lord, we ask this in your mighty and powerful Son's name, we pray. Amen. Amen. That's right. Absolutely. We can't get wrapped up into all the stuff that's going to cause strife and divisions between us. Us Christians, we really need to start looking and focusing on, number one, Jesus. Number two, unifying the group of believers. Alright? If we continue to argue and quarrel over the smallest little pieces of our faith, right? The stuff that we argue about, at the end of the day, does it matter if it's a flat earth or a round earth? Does it matter at the end of the day if it's pre-trib, post-trib, this trib, that trib? Does it really matter? Right? At the end of the day, were you believing in Jesus? Did you call on his name? Did you say that he is your Lord and your Savior? And were you spreading that word about Jesus Christ? Were you doing what you were commanded to do? What your calling was? Are you doing it? So if you're not doing it, you shouldn't even be worried about any of that other little tiny stuff. Because that stuff is not going to matter when it comes time for you to make an account for your life. Right? When you have to speak for yourself, are you going to be able to say, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord? Is he going to look at you and say, well done, my good and faithful servant? Or is he going to look at you and go, who are you? What did you do for me? I don't want to be that guy. Nope, nope, nope. And I pray to God that we all start looking at that, because this whole divisional crap, sorry for the language, it's what it is, it's poop. It does nothing but cause frustration in someone who's trying to believe. It looks really, really bad to a non-believer when you've got Christians arguing over whether someone who kills themselves is going to heaven or not. Right? Is that the most important thing that we need to be presenting to the rest of the world? Or should we really be presenting the love of Jesus Christ and what that looks like, rather than this other stuff? So, just a little thought. In between songs, I did not forget about you, my friend. We're going to play that song that you requested. So, let's do Even If. Let me go find that thing, and then we'll get back into the motion over here. Sorry, I went on a little rant because I really feel that that we as Christians need to wake up and really just start working towards focusing on Jesus and stop focusing on all this other stuff, really, because it's just not gonna get us anywhere. And the bad part is it's just gonna keep someone, 6 feet under and not even knowing who Jesus was. So I don't ever want to be that. No way, no how. Alright, no, it's not Alt F, it's Control F, silly. Control F. What are we looking for? We're looking for Even If. I did that one not that long ago, so even if. Oh, there you go. That was 11 months ago? Wow. That was 2 years ago. I don't want to do that one. That one's going to sound really bad. We'll do this one with our friend Teresa. So here we go. Here's the second song requested. Here you go, guys.
They say sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. Right now I'm losing bad.
Stood on this stage night after night, reminding the broken it'll be alright. Right now, oh right now I just can't.
It's easy to sing when there's nothing to bring me down.
But what will I say when I'm held to the flame like I am right now?
I know you're able and I know you can see through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone.
They say it only takes a little faith to move a mountain. Well, good thing a little faith is all I have right now.
But God, when you choose to leave mountains unmovable, oh, give me the strength to be able to sing, it is well with my soul.
I know you're able and I know you can save through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. I know the sorrow and I know the hurt will all go away if you just say the words. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone.
You've been faithful, you've been good all of my days.
Jesus, I will cling to you, come what may.
'Cause I know you're able,
And I know you can. I know you're able, and I know you can see through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. I know the sorrow and I know the hurt would all go away if you just say the word. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. My hope is in you alone. It is well with my soul.
it is well, it is well with my soul. Amen.
It is well with my soul, for sure. And, you know, that's, sometimes it's hard to say that. Right? Sometimes it's really hard to say that it is really all well that's in my soul, because sometimes it's not. Right? And even though we are children of God, even though we are supposed to, be in that place, right? We're always supposed to be, no problem, man. We're always supposed to be in that place where we are, everybody thinks that we're supposed to be the happy people, right? All the time. We're supposed to be the ones that are always not, there's nothing ever hurts us. Nothing ever harms us. You know what? Sometimes we cry. Sometimes we're hurt. Sometimes we are, just brought down by the world. But you know what? I know that one thing, when I pray, when I know, right? I don't need to even pray about this part of it. I know that God is with me, and God will see me through whatever the situation may be. He has done it time and time again. And, all I got to do is just believe in that. And I know that it works. There may be people out there that'll tell you, oh, you can't see it. Doesn't do nothing. It doesn't work. Prayer doesn't work because he didn't answer my prayer. Well, maybe we ought to self-examine that prayer, number one. Because maybe if it's for selfish reasons, there's only 3 answers to that prayer from God, right? Yes, no. Actually, it could be there's that maybe. You gotta wait. We gotta wait. Sometimes it doesn't get answered right away. But yeah. But sometimes saying it is well with my soul is not a possibility sometimes. And you have to be willing to do that, right? Yeah, you definitely have to have faith. But don't be afraid to say anything, right? Don't be afraid to stand up and say, listen, I'm not good. I need help. I need prayer. I need something, right? And don't be afraid to reach out to people, because there's people like myself, like Rick, like pretty much anybody on this Jesus Did It family knows that if you put something into our group message thing that you need prayer, that you're not having a good time, I can guarantee you within a few minutes there's going to be someone, and then a few minutes more there'll be even more. There'll be people praying for you. There'll be people talking to you. There'll be people chatting with you. And if you don't see anything going on and you feel that, reach out to people directly and say, listen, I'm not doing good. And make sure people know. Because sometimes people, like myself, right, sometimes I have a hard time seeing that, right, when other people are having a hard time, because I'm not really good at deciphering when someone's covering up their I'm not so good feeling. So we all need to be able to speak up and use our words and say, I'm not doing good today, but I know I know that I will be okay, but right now I'm not okay. And that's the point where we need to pray. And so don't be afraid to ever ask for prayer. Don't be afraid to say, oh, it's the tiniest little thing, it doesn't matter, right? No, it does matter. Every worry, right? Every frustration, every thing that is wrong, right? It bothers you. If it bothers you, guess who else it bothers, right? That bothers God, because he doesn't like to see us in a position where we are suffering, right? That's the reason why Jesus came to suffer and die on a cross for us, is because God wanted to see us be in a better position. So, alright, I think rant's over. Let's get into some Bible reading for tonight. We are reading the Psalm. Well, I think we're reading it. Well, I'm working on it. I was over here talking and then I forgot to get the screen ready. We're doing Psalm 96 already. Isn't that unbelievable that we are Psalm 96 already? Let's see. Alright, should be up on the screen now. I'm going to bring on live.me. Let me do that real quick. Live.me, 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome live.me. Thanks so much for joining. And thank you so much for being here. We're going to get into our word here in just a second. I'm going to bring on our friends on the Kitty Live on. Just let me get this one last share out on, and we will just got to share out this one thing and we should be good to go. Alright, cool. Alright, you gone. Alright, here we go. Kitty Live. Kitty Live. Cute little kitty, by the way. Cute little kitty. Actually, probably couldn't see that because it was green. It's a green screen. Alright, let me go put that one in. Let me find that. Uh-oh, there it is. Let me find the power cord. Check in. Got the power cord. Alrighty, let's go live. What are we doing? We're doing the tongue of something. No, I don't want to show my location. Thank you so much. And then, what is the word tonight? Oh yeah, tongue tamers. Interesting. Interesting title. Tongue tamers. Alright. No, not tongue yammers. Tongue tamers. How about use the right? There we go. Alright, done. Alright. And we're going to press the go live here in a second. Just give me 1 second. There we go. Go live. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, Kitty Live. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining. It froze. Now it's back. Alright, awesome. Okay, I think we're live. We're good. We got everybody on. I leave those other ones off for the music because they can't see this other stuff. All they can see is green screen paper behind me. And so we just want to share the word. So why do people say to say to spam the first? I have no idea what that means, but I'm pretty sure someone will have that answer for you. But not me. Let's see. Okay, Psalm 96. This is reading from the New King James Version, and we read from the Blue Letter Bible website, which is really good resource that allows you to be able to do things like translate words and have different translations and do all these other things with that. So thank you so much for the super hearts, all of your invites and follows and shares. You guys are awesome, and I really do appreciate that because you're helping to spread the word of God, and that's what we do. So here we go. A song of praise to God coming in judgment. Alright, and it looks like there's some reference here about 1 Chronicles 16, 23 through 33. What do you do? I do... What do you mean, like, what do I do? Like, what am I doing on here? Or what do I do for life? Or... I work in IT, and what I do on here is I read the Bible, I share some stories, I go through a devotional, and I figure some people like to at least hear that. So but thanks for joining. I do appreciate you being here, and hope you stick around. Oh, look, I got some kitty thing that was pretty cool. It was the Harry Potter appearance. I have no idea what that is, but that looked pretty cool. have no idea. It was like a cat riding a broom. It was interesting. Anyways, here we go. Psalm 96. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord. Bless his name. Proclaim the good news of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his wonders among all peoples. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the peoples are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Give to the Lord, O families of the peoples. Give to the Lord glory and strength. Give to the Lord due his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. O worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. The world also is firmly established. It shall not be moved. He shall judge the peoples righteously. Let the heavens rejoice, and let the earth be glad. Let the sea roar, and all its fullness. Let the field be joyful, and all that is in it. Then all the trees of the woods will rejoice before the Lord. For he is coming to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with righteousness, and the peoples with his truth. And that is Psalm 96 for tonight. That was our reading. Alrighty. Alright, guys, you know what time it is. It's our devotional time. We read from the Our Daily Bread. The Our Daily Bread. Hey, awesome, honey. Thanks for joining. There's an awful lot of people with the name Honey on live.me. Interesting. What's up, Daniel Gomez? Thanks for joining. Guys, we read from the Our Daily Bread. Our Daily Bread is a free publication. You might be able to get it at your church, right? If not, you can go to the website at odb.org and you can get yourself a copy, free copy. There's also a way for you to donate to them if you wish. But it's a great free devotional. And if you're in the Buffalo area and you want a copy and you can't find one, send me a message. We'll meet up sometime and I will give you a free copy. So definitely make sure you get your copy of this wonderful little book. Or they have an app. They've got text messages. They've got emails. They've got podcasts. They've got an app for the phone. There's a bunch of different ways of getting this in your hands. So definitely give it a try. What's up, Starry Angel? Thanks for joining. So the title for today is Tongue Tamers. This is written by Linda Washington, and this is for Thursday, September 12th. In the West, with the Night, author Beryl Markham detailed her work with, oh my goodness, Camiscan, a feisty stallion. She was tasked with taming. She'd met her match with Camiscan. No matter what strategy she employed, she could never fully tame the proud stallion. Chalking up only one victory over his stubborn will. How many of us feel this way in our battle to tame our tongues? While James compares the tongue to to a bit in a horse's mouth, or a ship's rudder. He also laments. Out of the same mouth comes praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. So, how can we win the battle over the tongue? The Apostle Paul offers tongue-taming advice. The first involves speaking only the truth. This is not a license to be painfully blunt, however. Paul follows up with, do not let any unwholesome talk, very interesting how these words are for tonight. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of our mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up. We can also take out the trash and get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, brawling, slander, along with every form of malice. Is this easy? Not if we attempt to do it on our own. Thankfully, we have the Holy Spirit who helps us as we rely on Him. As Markham learned consistently with Camerscan, was needed in the battle of wills. Such is the case in the taming of our tongue. Questions for today are, what do you find most challenging in taming your tongue? And the second question is, what practical steps can you take to win the battle in the coming weeks? Interesting. The prayer down here says, Lord Jesus, I need you to help me to be mindful of the words I use. Amen. Amen. Alright, guys. We're nearing the tail end of the broadcast, so I just wanted to say, if you guys have any prayer requests, any praise reports, anything like that, please put those in the broadcast. We'd love to pray with you, pray for you, lift up your concerns to God. We definitely would love to do that for you. Alright. So how's everybody doing today? I was going to broadcast yesterday, but Pastor Rick came on kind of late, and then by the time I decided I was going to go on broadcast, it was like too late. So I was like, if I can get a couple days a week, we'll be good. Sorry. Fighting back the yawning for sure. How are you guys doing? What's going on? Whoa, 1,079 viewers. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Patreon, cool. Got some interesting viewers in the house. There we go. Alright. No prayer requests, no praise reports. That's alright. What's going on, Goal? Thanks for joining. Crazy Eights is in the house. Watch out. So, no prayer requests, no praise reports. That's okay. We will keep moving on over here. Only 1,000. I know, right? Only 1,000. That's alright. I can deal with only 1,000. We'll take that. That will Oh goodness, that's number 2. Oh no. No, I'm getting the yawns. That's it. We're done. What's going on, smushy pancakes? I hope your pancakes are smushy if you like them that way. If not, I wish you crispy pancakes. How are you doing? Thanks for joining on the broadcast here. If you have any prayer requests or praise reports, I'd love to pray with you. For you, lift those up to God. And so if you're interested in corporate prayer, we can definitely help you. Crispy for you. That's right. That's more than shows up in most churches on Sunday. You know what? That's the truth right there. And even if I looked at the last broadcast, I looked at the analytics, and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. You know, that at least we're getting people with what is it, like, I have to double check it again. There's like 4 minutes, or no, 20 minutes. 20 minutes was the average for my broadcast. It was an hour and a half broadcast, and we had 20 minutes of actual people. Maybe pray for a good new roommate. Hey, we can definitely pray for that. Lord Heavenly Father, we just ask that you you guide the right person over to Smushy Pancakes request to have a new roommate. Lord, we just ask for that right person, the person who will be compatible and fit, and you know, let that situation work out in your mighty and powerful Son's name. We pray. Amen. Amen. Stacy Frederigo, where have you been? I have not seen you. I'm missing all of my frats families there. I gotta come over and see you guys sometime. Been missing you guys. Haven't seen you. That's right. What's up with that? Definitely. Thanks for coming on to the broadcast. Thanks for everybody supporting. Definitely. Alright, guys. Looks like we're at the end of the broadcast. I'm getting tired. You guys are probably all tired. It's time for bed. You're going to the marriage night. You are? I'm not, unfortunately. I was the one who really wanted that whole conference to happen, and then we actually have plans that night already. We had them already for tickets for a concert that we were going to, and it's gonna be, I was like, man, I really wanted to go see that. I wanted to be involved with that. That's alright though. I'm gonna go spend time with my wife, so it'll be just as good, for sure. But yeah, it's a good thing. My church, if you're in the area, if you're in, Western New York, there's a little mini conference, a one night. I know, right? And I can't return the tickets, and this particular band doesn't come this way that often, so I have to. We have to go, because otherwise we won't have a chance to see them again for a long time, if at all. So I know. All right, let's do a song on the way out, guys. Let's pray. Let's just pray over. Let's pray over those who serve in ministries, and let's do that. Lord Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time tonight to be able to get together, to get into your word, to be able to share, just share our hearts, our love, our thoughts with you, Lord. And Lord, we just thank you for allowing us to be able to share them with you, and to go through into your word and be able to spend time and fellowship with friends and family. And Lord, I just appreciate every single person that comes on the broadcast. Lord, I thank you so much for the blessing of having them in my lives to help me be obedient to get into your word, and to for me to also be able to answer that question if I was one of those that helped share your love story to those that may not know who you are and what you've done for us. So Lord, I just thank you for this opportunity tonight to be able to pray for people, to be able to pray for our pastors, to be able to lift them up. And Lord, we just ask that you continue to bring blessings upon them as well. Lord, in your mighty and powerful Son's name we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Sev's in the house. What's going on? All right, let's do a song. We're going to head on out. You know, the ending of this works, right? So we find a song. I got to find one now. Thank you, Jesus. Absolutely. You know, if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I would be. And I don't know if I'd want to know where I would be, to be honest with you. Because it wouldn't be a good place, right? So, you know, have you ever listened to this song? I know this is I usually play a secular song at the end. So those of you who may be questioning, I do play a secular song and a worship song at the end. So just to let you know, just in case you're questioning, like, what's this? This isn't Christian music. So just to let you know ahead of time. So ever listen to the words of this song? No, the Holy Spirit party is over. Yeah, we're at the end of it. Cause I need to go get some sleep. I gotta get up early. I gotta go to the chiropractor. But listen to this, and then I'll play another song after. But listen, all right, guys, I love you. Get some rest and be blessed. I love you all. Have a nice night, and we'll see you next time.
Heart beats fast, colors and promises. How to be brave, how can I love when I'm afraid to fall?
We're watching you stand alone. All of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow.
One step
I'll love you for 1,000 more. And all along I believed I would find you.
Time has brought your heart to me, and I have loved you for 1,000 years.
I love you for 1,000 more.
Kind of glad that Jesus has found me and I have found him, because I know that he loves me for more and more than 1,000. Of course, I love him for more than just 1,000 years, but just to put it in context, right? So, I'm feeling, yeah, let's do this one. I love you guys. Get some rest. Be blessed. Good night.
The head that once was crowned with thorns is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to wash our feet. Now his feet we bow. The one who wore our sin and shame, now robed in majesty. The radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. The fear that held us now gives way to him who is our peace. His final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. Your resurrecting King tomb where soldiers watched in vain was borrowed for 3 days. His body there would not remain. Our God has robbed the grave. Our God has robbed the grave. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. The resurrected King is resurrecting me.
Who am I that the Lord of all the earth would care to know my name, would care to feel my hurt? Who am I that the bright and morning star would choose to light the way for my ever-wandering heart? Not because of who I am, but because of what you've done. Not because of what I've done, but because of who you are. I am a flower quickly fading, here today and gone tomorrow. A wave tossed in the ocean, a vapor in the wind. Still you hear me when I'm calling. Lord, you catch me when I'm falling, and you told me who I am. I'm yours. I'm yours.
Who am I that the eyes that see my sin would look on me with love and watch me rise again? Who am I that the voice that calmed the sea would call out through the rain and calm the storm in me? Not because of who I am, but because of what you've done. Not because of what I've done, but because of who you are. I am a flower quickly fading, here today and gone tomorrow. A wave tossed in the ocean, a vapor in the wind. Still you hear me when I'm calling. Lord, you catch me when I'm falling, and you told me who I am.
Not because of who I am, but because of what you've done.
Not because of what I've done, but because of who you